Hey everyone. Alright, I'm still kind of getting set up. We should be good. I'm trying not to bump into the microphone. Alright, we're doing a little late stream today because I got kind of derailed by traveling a little bit, and then the whole eclipse thing was happening, and that kind of derailed me a little bit, and I was sucked into some corrections, which is fine. I can't remember where my mic was set up. I think that's good. It looks like it's good. So today we're gonna at least get these kids done before we start working on Spider-Man. Yeah, this is the new mic setup. This is I'm using and I don't even know if I would necessarily recommend them, but the Blue Yeti, or is it Blue Yeti? I think it's Blue Yeti. This is the Snowball. Maybe it's just blue. I can't remember. But yeah, I saw some video that was floating around. It was like linked in Boix's chat, where the guy was like, "Hey, all microphones, USB microphones, are all the same, and you should never overpay for them." And so I picked up this one because it was the cheapest, like, blue mic that they had. I gotta trying to tweak it a little bit, because I want to get it close to my face, but I also don't want the Wacom to, like, the Cintiq to, like, freaking nail the thing, you know. But yeah, all the Spider-Man 2099 stuff had the new setup, so the upgrade from here is like way more intense. It involves multiple pieces of equipment, audio, with actual audio cables, rather than just, USB into my computer and then we're done. Alright, so last time we did these guys, we did this guy up here, who's looking pretty good in retrospect. Yeah, I thought he looked, actually, it's funny, I was thinking about this the other day, this weekend, and I thought that this guy looked worse, but I don't know, we did an alright job. And this guy looks great. So let's try to emulate the same thing down here, and we're going to start with the same way we did the other vehicles, with just like a grad through the whole thing. We're going to set it to multiply, make it dark on the top, light at the bottom, so it's lit from underneath. That's like maybe a little too intense. See, so that's really intense on the figures, but not on the vehicle. So maybe we should do 50% rather than 100, and then maybe deselect the figures. This is more clicking than I necessarily wanted to do, but here we are. I'm just going to try to lasso it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, so I was, over the weekend, I saw this thing by that Dan Harmon was talking about writing in a really interesting way that I think is applicable to art. Hey, Kate. Yeah, Dan Harmon was saying that, like, if you sit down on, like, a script and you're like, all right, I'm gonna make something genius or whatever, and you're like, this comes from, like, the idea of, like, I can't work unless I'm down to the wire, last minute, and then, like, it all comes out. And he was saying that that's, like, kind of a bad idea. He was like, it's not where you want to be necessarily, because, if you need that to motivate you, then you're probably not doing your best work in that moment anyway. You need, like, time to revise and look at things. And actually, I spent that time today. I went back to Deadpool 288, I finished it on Friday or Thursday. Took the weekend off, and then came back today and corrected it, and found some stuff that I wanted to correct that was totally separate from the corrections I got from the editors. So, and the work looked better for it. So I think that's important. It's important to have time to be able to make the best product, to go in with fresh eyes, see it for what it is, and be like, all right, I'm going to look at this and I'm going to like, how do I tweak it to make it better? Having that time is important. But let's figure out this car before we start jabbering. But yeah, I went down this rabbit hole of Dan Harmon talks about writing scripts. I thought it was really interesting. Look, before we do anything, let's do the front panel here, because we were lighting it with like a pink before, I think. So let's try to do that. So let's just select the shapes of the fenders and stuff. And it's alright if we're into the characters, that's fine. We'll deselect it later. Once we're done here. Side of the roll bar. I don't know if you're like in a flying car that I assume can go like 40, 50, 100 miles an hour because you're flying. Do you need a roll bar? Like, are you afraid of rolling the car? Because chances are, if the thing's going down, you're just gonna fucking annihilate it. I don't know. Whatever. $20.99. Here we are. So yeah, Dan Harmon was talking about how he was like, if you're in that mentality, then you're probably doing something wrong. And the reality is like, and this is something that I hadn't thought of before, was that when we consume media, we consume stuff that like we think is better than we can do. You know, it's stuff that is like a step above, like something that you really love is something that, like, from the outside looking in, you think, oh, I can't do that. And because it's like you're holding it up to a higher standard. And he was like, and when you do that, you're gonna be like, oh well, you know, like, I can't do that finished product. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna procrastinate. I'm gonna be lazy. You know, like, I'm scared of getting it done. And then when you start to do it, you're like, oh fuck, we only have like 10 minutes left. I gotta crank this thing out. And it's like it's like a fear reaction more than it is a laziness reaction. At least that's how I interpreted what he was saying. And I think the same is applicable for art. Like, somebody somewhere was like, you got to do like 1,000 bad pages before you do your first good page. And I think that's solid advice. I think that the thing that makes people stop doing comics more than anything else is like, they have taste, they like comics, they start doing it, and then they're like, oh, these are awful, because they've just started, and then they're like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. You know, it's tough. That's the struggle. I don't know. So we're just trying to put that pink shine on this thing. And I'm just adding like some more highlights here. These little like we were doing in here on this side, we're doing chrome stuff. Man, and by the way, for anyone who's watching the channel regularly, I am severely slacking on the video game side of this channel. Like, I feel like every week I'm just like, oh fuck, I can't do it. I forgot all about it. Alright. I'm gonna try to get better at that, because there's actually some other games that I want to stream. Jeremy Hunter and I were talking about streaming for The Realm. This thing is a little bit in the way. Hold on. Maybe there? There's good. Apologies if this is making a ton of noise in the mic. Perfect. I'm like reaching for hotkeys while lifting the thing, and the mic is gonna get like bumped every time I lift it, and that's no good. But yeah, Jeremy Hunt and I were talking about streaming the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons brawler that Capcom made in order to promote the Realm, because the Realm is very similar to like it's very heavily inspired by like D&D, but we made it our own. It's like this post-apocalyptic like world where there's like magic and all kinds of stuff, and it's like super cool, and it like blends with that kind of lore. So we were thinking about doing just like a stream of that, and I want to, but I'm like, oh man, if I'm doing like one stream a week, like we're never gonna get fucking through The Last of Us. Not only that, but like my skill level, my video game skill level was definitely on display the last time we were streaming The Last of Us. It was a fucking disaster. And if I stream again and it's that same disaster, we might have a problem. So, okay, I want to kind of show something. So, this right here, I feel like this rendering looks like quote-unquote comic books. It's like shiny. I feel like this is what a lot of comic books look like. It's not necessarily what I like to do. It's like this shiny, well-rendered, slick thing, and like a lot of comic book colorists do this shit like all over. And I'm not saying they're shitty. I'm saying like that's kind of like what the like how comics ended up. Like it ended up there somehow with comic book coloring, and it is not my preference. So we're gonna try to make this look a little more complicated and a little more interesting than what we had before. Because complicated and interesting, I'm interested. Old and busted, not interested. They had like these weird wings on the back that are like jelly. They look like kind of like jelly. I don't know. So the last stream, this last stream was Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm noticing a trend, by the way. I don't know if you are, but the trend is, oh, it's the beginning of the week. I have like all this time to like get all this stuff done for the week. And now it's the end of the week, and oh my god, I haven't done anything. I can't stream today. that's the yeah, slick car polish. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's the trend that I'm experiencing with this in streaming in general. Is that the beginning of the week is easy and the end of the week is difficult. And somewhere in the middle I start panicking. But I'm gonna try to get better at that, and like actually carve out time. So we're kind of putting a little shine on the engine, but we're gonna mess with the color because it's a little bit too warm. I kind of want it to be like metallic, like gunmetal gray back here. But we're gonna mess with that with sliders, because we're already like neck deep into the rendering. So I'll just fix it in post. This is like close enough just to model. All right, so we got that front shine on this guy. Let's do this side shine. Do I often? Not often. The only reason that I did it for this is because I wanted to render back to front, like background, middle background, midground, foreground. And part of that was because my tactic for this was that if we go back to front, Spider-Man is last, And Spider-Man is such a focus of the page, and it's where I want the page to end up, and all the other color around him is going to influence how we color him. So if we color him first, and we get in there and do Spider-Man, then like, then he's going to influence, not only does he influence like the kids in the car, but he's going to influence the motorbikes and the buildings and the skyline and like everything, because he's touching everything. Like, his color is sitting next to every other color on this page. So what I wanted to do was figure out everything else and then figure out Spider-Man in relationship with everything else, because he's going to be the most important thing. And we want him to pop. So yeah, it just so happened, like, it doesn't usually, when I usually like tackle a page, like we did an American Way page on here, and I actually did like the color, I color schemed it out, and this page is like super fucking complicated, and that's part of it for sure. You know, I color schemed the whole page because it was just like in a room basically. It was a little bit of a slower pace than Spider-Man swinging through the city, and you know, did all of that, like all the color scheme for the room, then did all of the shadows for all the characters all at once, and then kind of went in and like fixed it kind of thing, like added a little more detail. Yeah. So like Spider-Man needs to fit into the context of everything. Not only does he need to fit into the context of everything, but he has to be the most important thing in the context of everything. And that's not to say that we're not going to, like, you know, when we start working on him, that we're going to be like, the kids in the car are sacred, we're never going to touch them. No. Like, the brats in the Whisper 3000, they're going to need to, they can be like tweaked. So we kind of did a green, they had the same thing going on with the, I'll show you exactly what I mean. So like here on the motorbike, you have like a core shadow here, and that means that like it's getting most of its light from down here to up, and then like fading to black, and then a black core shadow, and then a secondary light source back here. So, and I should zoom in a little more because it's tough for you guys to see. I keep trying to like zoom in, but like, you know, light to dark to core shadow to secondary light source, and the same thing is going on in the car. We have like a core shadow right here, so this is going to be light to dark, and then this is actually going to be green, so we can actually deselect that. So we're going to take like a red and just kind of pop it in here. Yeah, right? Like he swings by and she's like, hey, look at Spider-Man's butt. It's a weird perspective. I mean, like, if Spider-Man like swung by me, I would still be like, look at Spider-Man, and probably point at his butt because he's probably long gone by the time I realize. But that said, oh my God, look at Spider-Man's butt is not what I would want to say, but I've already said it like 3 times on camera, so, you know, here we are, I guess. Swing time, am I right? Hello and good luck. Sup the boys? Oh my God, look at Spider-Man's butt. It's so big. Hey Chops. So I picked up it's so round out there. Yeah. So I picked up Spy Seal this weekend, and I picked up another book. So I tried to get, like, I heard good things about DC Metal, and DC Metal is probably It's probably good, but I didn't know what the hell was going on. Thank you. I'm glad it's looking good to you. So yeah, I picked up DC Metal, and it's like I was expecting like a standalone story, and that's not what it was. It was like this tie-in event. Like mostly the characters were just like talking about stuff that was happening. It was a very long comic, and I didn't know what was going on the whole time, and I felt like, oh my god, this was like, I just picked up like, I'm that guy, I'm that reader that went into my, Comixology app and was like, oh, DC Metal, that seems cool. Like, people were talking about that online. I'll pick that up. And then, like, got it, and I was like, oh god, this is like a culmination, like, crossover thing of like a couple events, or like assumed I knew like the entire DCU backstory or something, and I was like, holy shit, I am out of my depth. But it looked pretty, I guess. It was Greg Capullo. His stuff's always good. If that's your thing. It's very mainstream, very shiny kind of stuff. So I picked up this new comic book day. And I picked up, and if you guys have picked up anything for any new comics you want to talk about, let me know, because I like talking comics. And I'd be down to check out stuff that you guys are reading. So I also picked up Spy Seal by Rich Tommaso, and that was a lot more enjoyable for me than DC Metal. But I bet that a lot of you probably feel the opposite, actually, because Rich Tommaso's stuff is like a little bit more indie, a little bit more like, it has like a Euro feel to it, and also you got Beowulf. Is that the hardcover? Because I picked that up just recently. It looked fucking dope. I flipped through it at the comic shop, but I haven't had a chance to read it yet. Like, hardcovers are a little bit more difficult for me to read than like single issues, just because like they're not portable, and if I'm home, I'm usually here doing this. So I will get to it eventually, but we'll have to wait on that. But yeah, so Rich Tommaso stuff is a little bit more Euro flavored. It's a little less mainstream, but it was still good. It was still really great. If you, the hardcover with the big, I picked that up as well. It looks amazing. I think is that David Rubin who did the art? His stuff's awesome. And like Spy Seal is also really, really good. But I will say this, like, Rich sticks to a palette. Yeah. His stuff's awesome. David Rubin's really great. Rich sticks to a palette, and he doesn't really deviate. Like, the whole book is kind of like, it's not that it's samey, because there's like different scenes, but he doesn't really, the palette isn't really super versatile, and he's doing everything himself. So it's like, I gotta give him props for that, because I've never done that. I've only ever just colored. So, or if I was doing black and white line art, like, I've never even colored my own line art before, which is weird to say out loud. We should fix that on stream. But yeah, he kind of like sticks to this like one kind of scheme, and it works most of the time, except for two instances when I was reading it. When he's running along the rooftops at night, it doesn't really feel like really like night. it's like just a little bit too bright. Yeah. Albert the Alien. I haven't heard of that. Uh, so yeah, Rich Tommaso. It didn't really feel like night, and it's a little bit. Yeah, Spy Seal is good. Okay, here's my caveat with Spy Seal is that the beginning is extremely wordy, like, and there are there's action in it, so you will get to like some action, but you gotta hang in there. Um, so there was that one part, and there was one part where a character was falling, and I'm trying not to spoil anything for you, and another character was like on a rooftop, and it was like this down shot, and because Rich is using like a similar palette for like most of the comic, it just kind of, it was very flat. Like he didn't use atmospheric perspective enough for me. um I mean, I don't know, maybe Albert the Alien's good. You don't want to talk about it, we don't have to talk about it. Yeah, I mean, it is smart wordy for sure. Like, I'm not trying to discount it. Like, um it was well written, but like, I feel like some people, they have like a threshold for like how long they're gonna spend on a comic book page. Like this is a double page spread, and it has like less than a paragraph of text. Like, you could fit this into like 4 tweets, if that. You know, and people kind of have a threshold of like, I'm gonna sit here for, if I'm on this page for like more than a minute, like I'm starting to get frustrated, or even 30 seconds. And if you are one of those people, dear viewers or dear people in the chat, you might not enjoy it, but it is smart, and it was really interesting. And once you get over the hump of the first couple pages, it actually lets itself breathe a little bit more, and it won't be the you won't get bogged down in word balloons. I think that Rich does something really interesting. Yeah. I mean, man, Watchmen is a heavy read. I think Rich does something interesting in that he will. I just realized that I threw the grad through this thing in the opposite direction, but maybe that'll work. We'll see. He does this thing where, like, if two characters are like talking, and they're in like a quiet scene, and there's not a whole lot going on, like visually, he will, instead of just like breaking it up with like word balloon, and then like some action and like multiple photos, he'll just be like, nah, fuck this, like I'm gonna put this person sitting on at this table, and like here's all the text she says, so it's a little bit, it's like a, nothing is done without purpose. And I can see like what he was doing and how he was experimenting, and I find that interesting, and a lot of Euro books like do that. So and I think Spy Seal is going to be great when it gets really going, but like, and this first issue is like pretty good, but I don't know, I wanted a little bit more. I mean, maybe that's a mark of a good comic, though, that I want a little bit more. You can go out. She's gonna take you. Go on. My dog is being convinced to go outside. Um, so yeah, maybe that's like the mark of a decent comic, is that you finish it and you're like, okay, give me the next one. Um, I think that, and I definitely got that vibe from Spy Seal. I'm gonna pick up the next one. The freaking Redlands is still sticking with me. Jordy's book, like, I can't wait to get the next one of that. But yeah, I picked up that. I picked up what's your games list? Oh, for the speedrun, AGDQ, Boix. This is not exactly working. So, Valuethon 3, nice. Yeah, I mean, God, Wensfly, is that how you spell your name or pronounce your name? I think it is. Yeah, I mean, it really just depends on like what you want to get into. Really, it's like, you sit down to you guys can stream, go for it. Yeah, I feel like it just depends on like what you want to get into. Like, comics as a medium are they're very, there's a lot of different ways you can tell a story. And a lot of people do tell stories in different ways. So it's like saying like, "Oh, I watch movies, but I only watch, westerns." And I only watch them if they're just like this. Like, I feel like if you do something like that, you're gonna be missing something. I mean, I'm not gonna stream too late. Oh, thank you for the host. You got a Robin in the corner, in the fuck. I don't know where down there. Thank you for that. Dog Swift, Dialogue Swift. I don't even. I can't even. Fuck. You know what? What's gonna break me emotionally? Trying to pronounce Twitter handles. Yeah, and that's the thing, is like I downloaded Spy Seal on my Comixology app, and there's a link for my own comics on Comixology down below. But yeah, I had it on my phone. I can't even. You're gonna destroy me. Kyler and Kyle. Oh my god. Guys, look, I work in a visual medium. I understand what the words mean in my brain. Saying them out loud is difficult for me. You're really gonna emotionally break me. Fuck. But yeah, so I had Spy Seal on my phone, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna sat down casually and read some comics, and I was like tired at the end of the day, and I was like, I'm gonna browse some comics. I hear Spy Seal's good. I'm gonna check it out. And then I opened it up, and I was like, this is way too much text for me to deal with. Yeah, a written language I can tell. I can be like, oh, that's that person. But speaking the word is not what I want. And yet here we are. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I'm not great with names. I'm sorry. But yeah. So I had Spy Seal on my phone, Actually, for probably a couple days before I was like, okay, like I'm in the headspace where I can read this. I'm not tired. No one's gonna bother me. Like, it's not something that you can read and then put down and like have a conversation and then pick it back up and read a couple more pages and put it down and have a conversation. Like, it's something you gotta like focus on. uh, so yeah, I would definitely recommend it, but it's got to be something like Spice Seals. You got to be in the right mentality for it. It's not easily consumable like a lot of other comic books are, especially superhero comics. Not that Spice Seal is not a superhero comic, but you know what I'm saying. Um, Comics as a medium is dominated by comic books that are like easily digestible. Um, yeah, right. Yeah. And with some books, especially like old stuff, you can get away with like mentally skimming it. Like, that's not a big deal. And a lot of that issue to issue stuff, Magi, was like, we have to recap you on the last issue. But if you're reading a collected edition, you know, you can just like skip over that stuff. There's probably not like a whole lot of relevant information in there. So we're trying to do the glass here, and we're gonna end up like coloring all the line art for all the glass stuff in here. Like, that stuff's all gonna get colored, but we're gonna add a little bit of a shine through the whole thing right now. Right meow. Um Oh yeah. Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to I'm glad you're learning how to color, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I am an open book as far as this process goes. Sometimes I know when we were working on Kyler's Superman stuff, I flatted the thing, and he sent me a message later, and he was like, holy shit. He was like, how did you flat, like, I saw a couple things that went by really quickly, and I don't know how it like exactly like came together, because I was using like hotkeys and stuff, and you guys can't see the keyboard obviously in great detail. So he was like, how did that exactly come together? I don't know if I'm happy with that shine. It's this one on the end that looks weird. Um, and I was happy to like slow it down for him, you know? That one on the end looks weird. Is it this part? It might be that part. This part was fine. That part was fine the whole damn time. Yeah. Getting there? I don't know. We'll fix it in post. Like, we're gonna put a shine through the whole window, so uh we're gonna get there, and that's gonna be kind of covered anyway. So let's get the kids in the car. Let's get them all knocked out. The Brats and the Whisper 3000. Let's get it done. All right. So these kids, their colors are currently kind of dark. Actually, let's do all the pleather inside. And this stuff, like, we're pretty zoomed in, and this stuff's like not super interesting. And for some reason, it's two colors currently, and we're just gonna gesture in the right color. And what I'm doing now is like exactly what I'm going to do when I start coloring it, which is not really pay a whole lot of attention to it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like this stuff is not going to be really where the attention is going to be for the art. So it doesn't have to be perfect. So we're just gonna drop in some, well, maybe we'll paint it in the dash here with the lasso tool. Yeah, ask a question. How do you get faster? I'll tell you exactly how to get faster, Swift. You practice all the freaking time. Like, there's little tips and tricks, but like really the only thing that's ever going to make you faster is just like, I did this all the time and now I'm fast. You know, like a cover compared to a page. Yeah, I can talk about that in 1 second. Let me talk about the speed thing. So when I started coloring, I was flatting for a studio, Xylenol Studios, from Lee Lowridge, and he was the one who was running the studio. He's a great colorist and has been coloring for a long time, far longer than I have. And I was worried about the same thing. I was like, fuck, I need to go fast, because like I was making page rate, you know, and I was like, how do I go faster? And I kind of realized that the only way to get faster is to just practice. That like there was, as frustrating as an answer as this is, because I'm sure it is frustrating, that like it's like, oh, what's the quick way to get faster? It's like, well, you just do this a lot. And like this double page spread, this is like what, stream 4 or 5? I'm like streaming for like an hour and a half every time. It's looking good. And you know, like we spent like 4 or 5 hours on this double page spread so far. I don't know if that's fast. Some people might say that's not fast. But really, like, I was like, oh man, I want to get going faster. And everyone told me, oh, it's just going to come in time. And now when I flat a page, I like rarely flat a page, but when I do, fucking super fucking fast at it. Like, it's just, you get comfortable in Photoshop, you get comfortable in the way you want it set up. It's a lot of trial and error. You're not fast, Rico. Rico's streaming, by the way. Rico's another very talented colorist, and he has started streaming, and you should send him a follow. You can click his name in the chat, and a little thing will pop up to follow. I'll show you here. I'll show you right now so you can see. Click that little thing where mine says unfollow. You can click follow, and you will follow him. Yeah. So I mean, you just practice. You just, you know, and you eventually get there. You don't worry about it, and then suddenly you're there. And I know that's like the most frustrating answer to give. So about covers, how do you approach coloring a cover compared to a page? I understand flatting for a page coloring, but cover art has an extra pizzazz most of the time. Yeah, so here's my mentality with a cover. So a cover, when somebody like approaches a cover, not to work on, but like in a shop, it's almost like postage stamp sized with like 100 other postage stamps on a wall. You know, like it's rarely like we're looking at it in a very controlled, like, oh, that looks good, we'll use it as a cover. You know, like that's not what it's gonna look like in the fucking shop. It's gonna fight for space visually with everything else on the shelf. And so simple coloring schemes, and I'm saying this as Angel City is below me without a simple color scheme, so take it with a grain of salt. Sometimes you get there, sometimes you don't, I guess. I don't know. I love Angel City for what it's worth, but Heartthrob, that's the one below me. That's a good one. Pretty simple color scheme, blue and purple. It's got like this stripe through it. So like when you view that like very far away, you just see this car and a stripe, and you're like, oh, what's that? And you like walk towards it, and you have like a second moment where where you see Callie behind the wheel of the car, and she's like tearing ass, and you see like the smoke and the car blurring and stuff. Thank you very much. I love Heartthrob. But so you have like the moment where the cover is in your hands, and you have the moment where the cover is on the shelf across the room. And so that's the first thing you have to kind of think about when you do a cover. Or that's at least the first thing I think about when I try to do a cover. Some images for those reasons and those challenges are like easier than others. Like the Angel City one was a little tougher. We did some really success. It's no slight against the artist. Megan Levins and I did that book, and she like knocked out of the park some covers. Like most of the covers. The only one I was like, I wasn't unhappy with her. I was unhappy with like what I did at the end of it. Like it didn't hit the same notes that we were setting for the whole arc. Like it still looks good, and it looks good in your hands, but it doesn't have that same grip across the shelf. Across the shop. But that's okay. Part of this, as I was saying at the beginning of the stream, is to like, you do the best you can, and you try to, and then you like perfect it, and you get better, and you do the best you can. Like nobody's perfect, and you try to crush it, So that's kind of like where I think about covers, that they have to work micro and macro. And then on top of that, I try to spend a little extra time on covers if I can. But a lot of the times, like, I'm trying to do the best job I can on the page. I'm trying to do the best job I can on the covers. It's not like I put a ton of extra time in the covers, but I definitely like think about it more, because I'm like, a cover is trying to sell books, which is important. So you want to like entice the reader, and some of the best covers I think are like really great iconic images. Yeah, well, and it's also about using like color to block things in. Like you look at that Cave Carson cover. I did a couple of different versions of that Cave Carson cover that's beneath me right now. And they all used color in different ways to kind of like block the characters in and like frame things correctly. And if you make it simple, it's why you see a lot of like comic book covers that are like white. That is because it's easy to make that eye-catching, because it's like a white cover in a line of colored covers kind of thing. So you want to use like simple eye-catching color, but then you also want to have a surprise for someone who finally gets close to it. You want it to reveal itself as you walk towards. And some of that's like out of your hands as a colorist. Like there's just like nothing you can do. But occasionally you'll get something that's like a fucking knockout, and you'll just be like, oh, I know exactly what to do, because I've been trying to make this work on all these other covers that have been fighting me for whatever reason. And you get to that point and you're like, yes, bitch, we're gonna sell some issues. Yeah, no problem. And I mean, the other thing too is like, with all advice, and I feel like this happens a lot with people who are hungry, people who want to like break in, that like, what tools are the best? How do you build a cover? How do you like, what pen are you using? What equipment are you using? Like, there's no silver bullet for anything. And I feel like every time I give advice I say this, but like you just got to do what works for what you're doing, you know? Like you got to figure out where your voice is within the work, and once you do, you'll be able to come to your own conclusions as to like what you think is a good cover and how you can make that applicable. Like this is stuff that I think about, and it's stuff that I think about because of feedback that I've gotten through the years, and it's stuff that I think about because I play Magic the Gathering, and I see a lot of full art, and then I see a lot of art on cards, and I've been thinking about it like that. So I've been like trying to see like what's successful on Magic's level. When I see like full art stuff, and I'm like, that looks great, and then I see the card, and I'm like, this does not look good. This is a muddled mess. Like, so it's about like seeing what doesn't work as much as seeing what does work, and finding out what you want to do. And like with getting faster, man, it's just time and patience, and you clock in the fucking hours. It's the worst. It's the worst piece of advice. Like, I don't know, just work all the time, but it's kind of true. Yeah, you've only done a couple covers. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking to break in, were those covers published? Were you working on something that was published? You can plug it in the stream if you want, man. I don't care. I don't think you can post links, but you can say what it was. Man or woman, I don't know. Yeah, I've also done like probably 3 or 4 covers a month for the last 15 years, something like that. So, it's I've put a lot of hours in. And when you work on something, you also end up rolling with whatever the artist puts down. So simple and iconic works for some covers, and hyper detailed works for others. Yeah. Self-published. Yeah. Hold on one second. Let me read Kate's thing. I mean, as big as you want to do it, it's going to be on a little card and tabletop, so it doesn't have to be huge. I actually think that maybe that is close to the size it's going to end up being. If you just want to like quadruple that size and paint that, that's fine. But you also, if this is super annoying, and this is what I was saying before, if this is super annoying, like, you don't have to paint it. Like, it's just like a little dumb card in Tabletop Simulator. I don't know. You don't have to. If you get halfway through and you're like, this shit's annoying, then it's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, but it's gonna be close to that size. You're doing a 50-page book, Swift. That's interesting. Tell me about the 50-page book that you're working on. When's Fly? Tell me about what you self-published. Because I'm interested. When you guys, I assume, are like trying to break into the industry, do you have like, here's something that I'm interested that you guys have talked about, or maybe your intentions. Are you just like throwing spaghetti at the wall, like whatever you can get hired for you take, and you're just like grinding all avenues? Or like, are you like, I have an end goal of like, I want to do self-published work and that's all I want to do? Or you have an end goal of like, once I get to Batman, then I know I've made it. Like, what's your gauge? What's your mindset? Do you even have one? Like, I'm just curious. I'm not like, there's no wrong answer. I'm not gonna be like, oh well, you guys fucked it up. You should have been thinking like that. Like, that's not where this stream goes. So, you know, there's no wrong idea. I was talking to a buddy of mine. Yeah, not to be too thirsty. Dude, be as thirsty as you want. Like, as long as you're making comics, like, yeah, people take advantage of other people within the industry, but you can be smart about it. Like, you can be thirsty. You can be like, fuck, man, I just really want to make comics. But you don't necessarily have to take the gigs that are offered to you, but you could still be thirsty, you know? Like, I like people who are thirsty. Don't take everything that jumps in your lap, maybe. I was talking about this, about like what colorist minimum wage should be, and I think minimum wage should be $50 a page, but the industry's racing to the bottom, it seems like, with smaller press stuff, like with really low rates, which wasn't like that when I started. The reason I'm asking is I started working in comics, and was like, this was like 2002, so it was like a long time ago, and I'm curious like what the landscape is like now for breaking in, because I think that a lot of the things that I did back then might not necessarily still work, you know. Girl in the Glim, huh? Get it printed to sell for festivals. Nice. Animation sensibilities. I like it. Yeah. Ever since you really want to make comics for a living, and that's the end goal. Yeah. It's tough, man. It's a hard road for sure. Like, I've talked about, you've made a bunch of zines. That's awesome. Are there places that people could get these zines, or are these like lost to the ages? Yeah, I've talked about how I started. When I started, I was like, all right, I'm gonna throw everything I have into comic books, and if it doesn't work within 5 years, that's like, it's good to set goals. It's good to set, you know, like what is success and what is failure, because then if you know that, or if you're doing something 5 years and you're grinding and you're like getting like marginal hits here and there, but like it never really pans into something, it's easy to like, okay, how am I not hitting these goals, rather than to be like, I don't know, I think it's working, you know what I mean? Like, it's intense to think about. I actually have just started thinking about it now, as to like, okay, now that I'm working consistently in comics, like, how do I further those goals? What are my goals now? Which I think are worth talking about, or at least thinking about. Maybe not talking about, but yeah, that's the thing, is like, if you have a tenacity, like, you know, you'll find your place. I think that actually the key to breaking, quote unquote, breaking into comics right now is like, go to as many local comic cons you can, and then like stuff that's drivable, stuff that's cheap, bring comics, and like, you know, you don't even necessarily need to sell them. Like, if you can, just hand them out. Like, all right, so we're gonna try to put the highlight on these guys. This looks like a good starting point, so we're gonna use this as like a starting point. Here's what they look like, and they're lit from the bottom here. So we're gonna use this as like a starting point and then kind of like amp it up from here. Two prints of these zines, they sold well, one or two cons. Yeah. Kind of lost for the ages. Thinking about starting a webcomic. Yeah, man, freaking pursue all avenues. I wish that I was able to do webcomic stuff when I started, but like the webcomic scene wasn't really there. Like I'm an old man in the comics world, it seems, because like there's all these like new up and comers that are like Jordy might be the center of all comic books in Dublin, to be honest. I don't know if she would say that. We should have her on the show. She's great. Yeah, we should definitely do a show with her. But yeah, I think that the key to breaking into comics is to make comics. And I don't think you can overthink that. Like, you just go. And then after you've made comics and then you have comics, you go to shows and you bring comics to the show, and like you either like sell them, give them away. If you're looking for if you're an artist looking for gigs, you talk to writers and you like give them comics. You don't even necessarily even need to give them away. Just be like, here's one comic, can you flip through it, tell me what you think, here's my card, like that kind of thing. If you're looking for whatever, you go with a goal and you like kind of hit that goal. But like, even like, don't go with a goal, just like show up to the show just to be like, hey, I'm gonna hang out, I'm gonna find some people that like are similar minded or want to hang out or like whatever, and we're just gonna hang out. Let's make this dress kind of sparkly, just a little bit sparkly. Like, I think that's that best way, because everyone in comics, because comics are hard, it takes a while to break in, and everybody that like, if you bring a portfolio to a show and you're in a portfolio review line, you'll start talking to the people around you, and then those people like are gonna be your peers like forever. Yeah, it's not, you can't, I don't know, it's like you make comics, it's not like that you make comics, you don't make a comic book and then you're in. You make a comic book and then you try to get in, you make a comic book to try to get in. I heard somebody describe comics, I think it was Wilfredo Torres, who's an incredible comic artist. He described it as comics is a revolving door. You don't break, and it's like a full party inside, and you're like, I want to get into that party, and the like door revolves and you like miss it and you're like, oh fuck, I didn't get into the party. Okay, next time the door's coming back around, and then you like get in the door and you're like, oh sweet, I'm at the party, and then like the door keeps spinning and you're like, oh fuck, I was only able to grab a drink and now I'm back out. Like, that's kind of what comics is a persistent game. Like, I've been doing this for 15 years and I'm like still trying to fucking wrap my mind around some of it. Like, it's not, sometimes there's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason to it, and you just gotta like roll with it and figure it out. I don't know. This is all like not the advice anyone wants to hear. Like, this is, how do I get faster? I don't know, practice. How do I make better covers? Probably some practice. How do I break into comics? You practice. And it eventually happens. But that's true. Yeah, I mean, congrats on the 15 years of like getting my ass kicked. But it's weird, because that's the truth, that's the real deal, is like, if you if you try to get into the industry and you're like, I'm gonna make a comic book and then everyone's gonna love me, you're gonna have a wake up call. But if you, and then like the other wake up call that I've had is, okay, I made this comic that everybody loves. Now I'm here to stay. Like that doesn't happen either. Like there's no, you like constantly have to prove yourself, and you need the mental fortitude to like, you know, endure that kind of thing, because it's not fun or easy or whatever. I don't know. I'm making it sound more like a slog than it actually is, because it's very fun too, and I love doing it, and I wouldn't do anything else, but it is tough, especially when you're breaking in. Yeah, I broke in because of a editor at a bar bought me a drink and was too drunk to remember me at the show the next day, and then he looked at my portfolio anyway, said it didn't make him want to puke. This is a fast forward version of the story. It didn't make him want to puke, and then he gave me the card for the person who was doing color for the company at the time. And then I took my portfolio, which was like, I was totally green. Hey, how's it going? I took my portfolio and I was like totally green. And I was like, there was a coloring studio, a colorist in town. And I was like, hey, am I fucking this up? Like, am I doing everything right? Any glaring problems? Cause like, I didn't know, anything. And he was like, no, it's fine. Put my name on it if it helps you. I was like, cool. And then I got it, and then I didn't hear from that company after I sent that portfolio in for 6 years, and I got a job with the guy who like I got a portfolio review from. So what my point is that there are no fucking rules, and like the thing that you think is gonna work out might not work out, and the thing that you think is just like a whatever write-off thing might not be. You know, it might turn into something. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned from comics that I would impart to anyone is like, everybody's trying to break in, and sometimes people get a lot better than they start out. So don't be snobby. Don't write anyone off. Just be genuine and open and honest, and you know, have a good time at a con, and you know, people will respond to that. I don't know. We got into the breaking in. Just throw your portfolio everywhere. Yeah. I was at a con once where they were giving away. Somebody was giving away issues. I can't even remember what the issues were, but he was just standing on a chair at his booth, and he was yelling, "It's like the Twilight Zone, but on crack," over and over and over and over again. Don't do that. That was super obnoxious. That made me hate that guy. I won't say who it is, but yeah, that made me hate that guy. And there's a guy who walks around. I've talked about him on stream before, who always has like a little word balloon. Yeah, you should definitely try. Like, yeah, if you're new, absolutely bring your portfolio, get it reviewed in the official like DC Marvel reviewers, but also just like bring your portfolio around. And here's the dirty little secret between portfolio reviews is like, bring it around, show it to everybody that you possibly can. If somebody's like looking for a colorist or looking for a penciler, and you show them a portfolio that's great, and you're just like, hey, can you just like check it out and give me feedback? And they look at it and they're like, oh, I actually have a project coming up. Maybe this person's good for it. They're gonna tell you that, you know, like they're gonna ask you for your contact info. Like trying to get portfolios is like the pro strat. Like, I feel like that's the best way to break in. bring your portfolio, ask for people to look at it, because people will give you their opinions and you'll get better. And then when you get to a point where you're like ready, people will give you a chance. So the kids in the car are looking pretty good in context here. They're looking a little jacked up when you really zoom in, but we're doing very, very gestural, like drawing in there. I'm not like getting super tight, because like even the drawings like dotted eyes and stuff, but we're gonna take this green and kind of like over the shoulder. Well, maybe we should use a different kind of green. Yeah, because they're getting hit by the same like reflected bounced light in that the car's getting hit with. Yeah, but like the other thing is like, you know, anybody who puts a portfolio in front of me like at a show, I'm definitely gonna look at. If somebody on Twitter was like, hey, can you look at my portfolio, and I have time that day, like I will also look at it there. Like, you know, Twitter's an incredible thing that I did not have access to when I was coming up, and I think that it's created hey, thanks for following. Look at that, Bucky. You showed up and then you followed. You're the man. But yeah, I you know, I feel like and even if people wanted me to, like, if they were like really gutsy and they wanted me to, I'll review portfolios for pencils, inks, whatever. Like I did my tour of art school. I got 80K into debt. Like, I know my shit. If someone was like feeling really gutsy and they wanted to like put it out there and put their stuff on stream for a review, like I would actually definitely do that as well. Well, thank you, sir. I'm glad I can be your favorite colorist. I'll try to, I don't know, hit that bar that you've set very, very high. So, but yeah, like, you know, I'll, especially at a show, like, I'm not, like, I know my shit, but, I'm like a colorist, so I'm not getting like swamped at a show. Like, I've sat down and chatted with people for, who had portfolios to look at, pencils or inks or color, like, and we've sat down and gotten into it for like 15 minutes before. You know, if it's a slow day at the show or whatever, middle of the show, and like, you know, I've sold most of my stuff on Sunday or whatever, like I'll shoot the shit all day. Yeah, I mean, as long as and here's the thing, like, as long as you're polite, as long as you ask and you don't expect anything, you know, like as long as you're just like, hey, I really like your stuff. I was curious if you could take a look at my portfolio. I'm trying to break in. And if the person's like, oh man, I'm sorry, I just like don't have the time, then, you know, that's you got to respect that. You can't get like, some people hear that and they get upset and they're like, well, you know, like, why don't you have the time for me? Like, that's, now you've made me angry. First you made me curious, now I'm angry. But I'll tell you what shows I attend in a moment. So yeah, you want to try to like, you want to try to be reasonable and just you know, try to get as much input as you can. The other thing is, like, if you guys are submitting to companies, here's a pro tip that I didn't learn until well after I was submitting to companies. I had interest, I think these, by the way, I think these kids in the car are like mostly done. The shine is a little fucking buck wild down here. Maybe we can blend it in by putting some more shines in. but we're a little, yeah. I mean, maybe we're making the context a little bit better, but I don't know. Fuck. uh, yeah, maybe we just make that shine a little more muted. Maybe that's how we fix it. Yeah. Yeah, man, those kids look in the car looking good. I wonder if we should friggin' just like put a white strip like on the whole set. Let's try it out. We're gonna get gutsy with color right here. Sorry, I had a train of thought for something and now it's gone because now I'm thinking about this thing I'm working on. What shows do I attend? That was what I was gonna say. Sorry, I bumped the mic. That's my bad. So I go to there we go. I go to Heroes Con at Charlotte every single year. It's my favorite show. Charlotte, North Carolina. I've gone to C2E2. Yeah, I go to C2E2 usually every year. Yeah, man, if you're coming to a show, what shows do you go to? I'll go to shows. How about I flip the script on you? I go to C2E2 usually every year, and if I'm not there the previous year, I usually make it a point to go there the next year. Some shows I miss because like family obligations or whatever's happening. But mostly I try to hit C2E2. I try to hit Heroes Con in Charlotte. Toronto Fan Expo. Man, I would love to. I've never gone to a show in Canada before. I would love to go. I'm actually trying to like diversify which shows I go to because I feel like I've been doing the same ones over and over again. C2E2 and Indiana cons. Yeah, I'd love to do Fan Expo. And there's a show in Calgary that's really good too. That I've never done. So yeah, let's put a coherent thought together. Fuck. Heroes Con in Charlotte, C2E2, Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle. Those are like my go-tos. And then I'll do a couple local Florida shows. Rose City and Emerald City. Yeah. I go to Emerald City usually every year. I almost didn't go this year, and then my fiance talked me into it. She was like, we should just go because I want to go. I was like, all right, I guess we're going. But it was a great trip, and she had a blast. So, I don't know if I like that. What we were just doing just now with the white. I don't know if that looks good. I don't think it does. Let's see if we can roll it back. Hopefully it's not too many steps back. It's not too many steps back. We can roll it back. Oh God. Yeah, I wish I was going to Rose City too. That's coming up, right? That's either soon or it's just past, or it's got to be soon because you're excited. I told myself I was going to try to come out there this year and September, right? I told myself I was going to come out there this year, and then it for whatever reason I got caught up in the cons in the beginning of the year, and then didn't book fast enough for the end of the year. So it just didn't end up working out. The kids in the car look dope. How long have we been streaming? Fuck, an hour and a half. Are we gonna leave Spider-Man till tomorrow? We might leave Spider-Man till tomorrow. Yeah, I think we're gonna call it there. Unfortunately, I thought we were gonna finish. Janet Harvey is going. Yeah, man, I want to sign your Angel City. Wait, have I signed your Angel City? You were the one who said you were in. Yeah, you were at C2E2. Have I signed your Angel City, or did you forget it? Did you bring it? Did you forget it? I did. Good man. Yeah. Janet doesn't do a whole lot of shows. Later, Rico. Yeah. Fuck yeah, man. Oh, right. Yes. I know who you are now. I have a visual image now. Yeah. Yeah, I hooked you up. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, come by again. All I do is give advice on this thing. We just shoot the shit. Talk comics. Yeah, cool. I'm glad I'm glad that you had a good time. That's the kind of stuff that I really love out of comic conventions. 'Cause I can tell when people are like very excited about, I can tell when like a collector comes up and they're just like, here's all the stuff that I have by you. And I can tell when like someone comes up and they're like, I loved this book. And like that's the stuff that warms my heart. Yeah, try to catch me tomorrow. I keep saying that I'm gonna be on, like I keep being like, oh, I'll be on tomorrow, and then like days will go by. I apologize. If you follow me on Twitter, I always say when I'm about to go live. So you can catch me there. And if you miss me, you can catch a VOD. If you just click the little past broadcasts, you can find me. But yeah, I think we're going to leave it there, and we're going to finish up Spider-Man tomorrow. I want to finish up Spider-Man because I'm going to be coloring some Cave Carson. I want to color that on stream, and I actually want to have Mike Oeming on stream with me. So we're going to see if we can work that out. If I can't get him, get somebody else. I don't know. Want to have some guests on, so it's not just me rambling. But thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to y'all later.